Okay, we're on to our next round of local jurisdictions. And we've got some women, which is great. Break up this dude fest. We're going to change the order around slightly due to we're running a little bit late, and so there was a scheduling issue. So Cynthia Hogan, who's the chair of the St. John's Hospital Board, is going to go first, and then Dave Adams, and then Kate Mead and Chris. Welcome. In the interest of expanding the idea of one community spanning 2 states and 3 counties, we're super fortunate to have the chair of the Teton County, Idaho School Board with us as well this year.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Adams from the Teton Conservation District. I want to thank Jonathan for putting on this annual extravaganza. It gives all of us a chance to detail some of the activities in our various agencies, of which we're particularly proud. It's been my experience, though, that a sizable portion of the population in Teton County has absolutely no idea what a conservation district is or what it does. So I'd like to start with a little history. Conservation districts were sort of born out of the Dust Bowl in the 30s. A USDA soil scientist named Hugh Bennett correctly assessed, upon looking at the devastation, that yes, a large amount of this could have been avoided if only correct practices were used by the farmers. And so he got to work, and by 1935, the Soil Conservation Service was established. A lot of their program consisted of field agents going out to old farmers and telling them to stop doing things the way they have for generations, which you can imagine that didn't go over very well. Fortunately, Hugh was about 6'4" and 240 pounds. And so with a lot of hard work, we have the U.S. agriculture that we have today and have not suffered a similar catastrophe yet in the agricultural industry. The most important thing about it was that he assumed, the basic premise was that if you provide the citizens with facts and technical assistance, they will eventually do the right thing and don't need to be regulated into doing that. Another nice thing about the whole Soil Conservation Service and Conservation Districts is that they rapidly realized that it couldn't all be directed from the federal level. And states were encouraged to establish local districts. Wyoming passed their soil conservation law in 1941, and in 1946, the Teton Conservation District was established by the voters of Teton County. It contains all of Teton County and a few slices of some neighboring counties and all of Yellowstone Park. 80 years on, our activities have expanded tremendously. We are involved in wildfire mitigation, range monitoring, a vast array of mapping services, GIS, and aerial photography. A lot of wildlife issues, from sage grouse to a program that we recently funded. Turns out there's a lot of apples in Teton County. And when they get ripe and they start to ferment, there's a lot of animals that really like them, particularly grizzlies and moose. And so we were approached by a group that said, okay, if you just fund us, we will pick these apples before they ferment, and we will ferment them and produce a cider, which is not ready for sale yet, but we did sample some the other night, and it's pretty good. Just don't drink it very fast. What has not changed also is the premise that we trust the local citizens to do the right thing, and our job is not to provide them orders, but to provide them accurate facts and data, technical assistance, and just help them in making a difference. And I'd like to talk about one particular area that I think that we're involved with, which is water quality, that tends to illustrate this. About 15 years ago, people started noticing that Fish Creek was being taken over by a kind of a green slime. And that began our involvement with the U.S. Geological Survey in a series of research projects, not only to try and identify what this green slime was, but also what effects was it having on the macroinvertebrates, all the insects that the trout eat. What were the water quality issues? What relationship did flow in Fish Creek have with groundwater? We were doing genetic typing of E. coli to see if we could see whether there's input from various animals. The upshot of all this was that we determined there is a significant flux of additional nutrients into Fish Creek, nitrates and some phosphates, but from where we really couldn't say. Several years ago, with Friends of Fish Creek, we established a stakeholder group to look at these issues. And that involved representatives from sewer districts, managers of golf courses, engineers that were familiar with sewer design and septic systems. But the basic philosophy of this group was not to try and find a culprit, not to point fingers. It was for all of us to look at in our areas and see what we could do, because everybody realized there's always something we could do better. And out of this has come, a couple of programs that the district has been involved with lately. One is dealing with septic systems. We last year established a cost share to encourage people to pump their septic systems. This had a great educational benefit because many people didn't realize they had one. And so this allowed a lot of people to really understand where things go. In addition, we started a mapping project on the West Bank to try and map how each parcel is sewered, whether it's on a sewer system, is it on a raised leach field, is it on a non-raised leach field, is it the 51 Studebaker buried in the backyard? These were things we wanted to know. We wanted to have a real good idea of where the problem might lie. Recently, we've just contracted to expand that mapping to the entire county, because we're starting to realize that we need to know what the situation is before we can really address the problems. In addition, we're also going to be mapping all the sewer infrastructure in all the sewer districts and in the town of Jackson, because more and more these things are all interconnected. And we need to know what the capacities are, what the bottlenecks are, if we're really going to be able to plan long range for the needs of this community. The other program that we're just starting to unroll is Trout Friendly Lawns, which is a title we've stolen from Montana. And this is an effort to, once again, encourage landowners to move away from excessive watering and fertilizing of lawns, and actually to move away from having lawns at all, if you possibly can. This is an attempt to keep these nutrients from washing off of lawns and going into water bodies. All of these programs are now becoming countywide, and just not Fish Creek, because all of our water bodies can be affected by human activities. But once again, the important thing is that we really do believe that in the ability of citizens to make a difference, and if we provide them the correct facts and some technical assistance, I guess you could say our core values is that we believe in incentivizing rather than regulating, and we believe that we have achieved a fair amount of good results by following that philosophy. So I barely scratched the surface on a lot of the other programs that we have. I would encourage anybody who wants to learn more to contact us or to go on our newly refurbished website, tetonconservation.org. And once again, I thank you for your attention. Thank you, Jonathan.
This question is for Dave Adams, and I'm really interested to find out more about the Trout-Friendly Lawns program, and I'm curious if you're also looking into other contamination sources into surface waters, such as from blacktop sealant. There's been significant research into the toxicity of runoff from blacktop sealant, and there are more environmentally friendly options.
Yeah, I think one of the important things about protecting surface water, at least, is that we need to really pay attention to zoning development away from surface water. The best way to protect it is to keep those activities away from it. In a lot of our studies, we're mostly working on nutrients, but we routinely do monitor for an entire suite of materials, both in surface water and groundwater. And so there are a lot of organics. Town of Jackson has had benzene issues for years, and so we're trying to keep an eye on that. And as things come up, we try and get as much facts as we can.
And with that, we will wrap up this session. I just want to point out that, as I noted before, one of the blessings of living in this region is the quality of the people who are heading up our public agencies. And not only are you guys heading them up, but you're all volunteers. So thank you very much, and would you please give a round of applause for our panelists.